faithful. Right now, the vibe in the Bay Area is full alert. Heavy decisions on the board, quiet moves behind the scenes, veterans being questioned, a surprise on defense, and an unexpected protagonist trying to change everything. None of this is recycled noise. Every detail from these last hours hits directly at the immediate future of the red and gold, the identity of this team, and the confidence of the Niner gang for the next games. You won't believe what we've got today. So sit back, hit that like button, and let's dive straight into it. Stick with me because every detail tonight can change how you see this season. And while the Niner gang tries to process everything that's going on, there's a quiet decision behind the scenes that is splitting opinions and could define the rest of the season. No splash move, no blockbuster trade, no easy headline at the deadline. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan looked at the market, saw absurd prices for certain names, saw contenders paying a first-round pick plus more for an interior defensive lineman, and simply said, "We're not going to act out of desperation." And that triggers the question burning in every fan's mind right now: is that the steady vision of a serious contender or the passivity that could cost them everything? Because here's the hard truth: the defensive line is beat up, the rotation has lost its punch, and the identity that used to terrify opponents is battered. It's no longer that front that won on pure talent, drive after drive without help. Now it's patched together, adjusted, taped up to stay standing. Expecting that group alone to carry every game into January is asking for a miracle. So if the old fortress on that side of the ball can't carry it all anymore, someone else has to pick up the weight. And that someone is the offense, wearing red and gold and running out of excuses in front of a fan base that knows exactly what elite football looks like. This is the stretch where Kyle Shanahan has to be brilliant every single week, where the playbook needs to be aggressive, creative, vertical when needed, cold-blooded on third down, ruthless in the red zone, where the quarterback has to be efficient, protect the ball, control the clock, punish every defensive mistake, and stay calm when the season feels heavy, where Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, the receivers, and the offensive line embrace the responsibility of turning every drive into a real threat. Low-scoring comfort zone is gone. The bar now is 27, 30, 31 points a game if this team wants to keep talking playoffs and keep its respect as a true NFC power. And that leads to the central point of this whole debate. Do you trust this offense to carry an injured defense all the way into the postseason? Or will standing pat at the deadline come back to haunt the front office if a promising campaign slips away on small details? The fan base is split. One side gets it, doesn't want to see draft capital thrown away in panic, knows this roster is still loaded when healthy. The other side demands action, points to rivals loading up, and asks if the 49ers missed the moment. In the middle of all that pressure, one thing is undisputed. If this group really believes it's a contender, then the offense has to prove, Sunday after Sunday, that it can be the answer when everything else shakes. And while part of the fan base accepts the choice to trust what's already in the building, there's a quiet move on the table that might be exactly the kind of smart surgical decision that separates desperate reaction from real vision. Because if there's one area screaming for help, it's the edge. This team needs pure explosion. That guy who wins off the snap, forces the quarterback to rush his reads, and turns third and long into a nightmare. And in that context, one name fits perfectly: Julian Okwara. Okwara is currently on the Cleveland Browns practice squad, but don't be fooled. He's exactly the type of cheap, fast, targeted addition that fits an injured contender. A true speed rusher at 6 feet 4 inches with long reach, ready to step in and do one very specific thing the Niners are missing right now: attack the tackle's blind spot with burst, win the corner, and finish plays that are dying half a yard away from the quarterback. He's not the answer for early downs, not the anchor against the run, but as a third and long pass rush specialist, he fits this defense like a glove and gives the coordinator one more lever to pull. And the best part, no bidding war, no drama. By rule, any team can sign him off the Browns practice squad by offering an immediate spot on the 53-man roster. It's the kind of silent move that won't dominate headlines but can decide a playoff drive in January. Imagine Bryce Huff on one side, Okwara on the other, interior stunts creating chaos, and the coordinator finally able to get aggressive again without living off heavy blitzes. Instead of praying for a tired front to create magic, you add a hungry, explosive piece with a clear role and something to prove on every snap. Fans are already debating his name. Some want a big established star. Others understand championships are also won with sharp depth moves. This is exactly the kind of adjustment that shows real awareness, low cost, direct impact on the biggest weakness on the roster, and a clear message to the locker room that no one is satisfied with the current defensive drop-off. It's not about headlines, it's about that one hurry, that one sack, that one forced throw that flips a game in Week 17 or in a wild card round. And while we talk about fixing the defense from the outside, there's another fire burning inside this locker room. The offense has started to respond, and that opened up a conversation nobody expected to have this early. That 42-26 loss to the Rams laid bare every defensive flaw, but it also threw a huge spotlight on an unlikely figure in red and gold, Mac Jones. In the middle of the chaos, while the defense struggled to stop anything, he delivered exactly the kind of performance that keeps the season alive. It wasn't just pretty numbers in a blowout. It was pocket presence, quick reads, smart distribution, chemistry with George Kittle, real command of the offense. While the defense was collapsing, the offense moved the chains, scored, kept hope alive. And that's where the real question starts to hit. If the path to January now runs through a more aggressive offense, did the 49ers just find within their own building the guy who can lead that shift, even if it wasn't part of the original script? With Brock Purdy dealing with a tough injury and no guarantee of being close to 100% soon, every snap Mac takes carries extra weight. It's no longer about holding things together until the starter returns. It's about testing, under fire, whether there's a legitimate plan B who can sustain an entire run if Purdy's situation drags on. And let's be honest, no one in San Francisco can afford to misread this. Forcing Purdy back too early and losing both options would be a disaster that hangs over Shanahan and Lynch for a long time and shakes the trust of this fan base. The fan base is split again. Some still see Mac strictly as a good backup thriving in a strong system. Others see signs of a quarterback ready to take over if needed, someone who can run this scheme with timing and toughness. Shanahan and Lynch need to be ice cold in their evaluation and bold in their decision. Are they going to treat this performance as a one-off in a chaotic game, or as a clear sign that the security they need to keep dreaming might already be inside Levi's Stadium wearing their colors and waiting for a real vote of confidence? Add to that the schedule tightening, Rams and Seahawks pushing, and the margin for error shrinking by the week. Every call about who leads this offense affects the locker room confidence and how the rest of the league views this franchise. Backing Mac as the guy while letting Purdy heal completely might look risky from the outside, but it can also be exactly the kind of responsible, long-view decision that keeps the Super Bowl window from slamming shut and shows players that health and consistency matter more than panic. And as if all that wasn't enough to spin the Niner gang's head, that Rams game left a message that can't be ignored. Even while giving up 42 points, this team still found answers in names many people didn't have circled as heroes. When everything seemed ready to fall apart, the spark came from a questioned returner, a challenged tight end, and a quarterback under heavy scrutiny. And that doesn't erase the problems, but it says a lot about the heart inside this locker room and about how close this team is to turning effort into results. Skyway Moore, heavily criticized for his decision-making on returns, delivered exactly the kind of play that shifts a team's energy. That long, fearless, explosive return that sets up the offense already smelling points is more than yardage. It's attitude. It's the message that no one in this group is folding. And when a guy under pressure responds like that, everyone in the room feels it and starts to believe that the momentum can flip in a single snap. George Kittle, after weeks below his own standard, picked a brutal stage to remind everyone who he is. Sharp routes, strong hands, effort down to the last inch on the sideline, a touchdown fought for until the end. On a day when the defense didn't show up, seeing one of the emotional leaders empty the tank like that is fuel for the group. It proves there are still veterans pulling this thing forward, even when the score stings and critics talk about collapse. And of course, Mac Jones ties this whole response together. Protected the ball for most of the night, distributed, stayed poised, trusted his reads, found his playmakers, threw 3 touchdowns. He wasn't the problem. If anything, he was the reason this didn't turn into total humiliation. And that matters a lot when the front office, the staff, and the fan base are deciding who they're willing to trust in the most critical stretch of the season and whether this locker room still believes in its own plan. Put all that together and it leaves a direct challenge for the 49ers faithful. Instead of only seeing a painful loss, what if we start paying attention to who refuses to sink? Because those names, those attitudes can be exactly the emotional and technical foundation holding things up while the rest finally gets fixed. But here comes the uncomfortable part. If the offense is showing life, growth, and fight, how long can that be enough to cover for the defense? How long can these guys carry the load without a real answer on the other side of the ball? That's the question that won't go away and sets the stage for the pressure that's coming from inside and outside the building. At the end of the day, faithful, the message is clear. The front office chose the path of trust, the defense needs creative answers, and the offense just inherited the duty of carrying this red and gold shield. There are affordable pieces out there, there are guys inside this locker room demanding more responsibility, and there's a fan base that refuses to accept a wasted season. Now I want to hear from you. Stick with the plan, make surgical moves, or demand a bold, immediate splash. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share and subscribe, because we're going to live every decision together game by game. Always demanding, always backing this team all the way to the final whistle.